I reversed my type 2 diabetes at 75 years old without taking a single medication. My A1C went from 8.9 to 5.4 in 6 months. My fasting blood sugar dropped from 240 to 95, and I lost 42 pounds in the process. I'm going to tell you exactly what I did step by step without any hype or miracle cures, just the practical actions that worked for me after 12 years of struggling with diabetes. My name is Robert, and I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes when I was 63. For over a decade, I took metformin, then they added glipizide, and eventually my doctor wanted to start me on insulin. I was tired all the time. My feet hurt. My vision was getting blurry. I couldn't play with my grandchildren without getting exhausted. I thought this was just my life now. But then something changed, and I want to share that change with you because if it worked for me at 75, it can work for you too. The turning point came on a Tuesday morning in March. I was at my grandson's birthday party, and I fell asleep in a chair while the kids were opening presents. Not just dozed off, but completely out. My daughter took a photo, and when she showed it to me later, I saw an old man slumped over, mouth open, completely disconnected from life happening around him. That image hit me harder than any doctor's warning ever had. The next week, I had my regular checkup, and my doctor said my A1C was 8.9. She said we needed to add insulin to my regimen. I asked her if there was any other option, anything I could try first. She was honest with me. She said that diet and exercise could make a difference, but most patients don't stick with it. She'd give me 3 months to try, but she wasn't optimistic. I left that office angry, not at her, but at myself. I had let this disease control my life for 12 years. I had accepted it as inevitable, as something I just had to manage with pills. But sitting in my car that day, I made a decision. I was going to treat these 3 months like my life depended on it, because honestly, it did. I spent the next week reading everything I could find about reversing diabetes, not managing it, reversing it. I learned that type 2 diabetes is fundamentally a disease of insulin resistance. Your body produces insulin, but your cells don't respond to it properly, so glucose builds up in your blood. The root cause in most cases is excess body fat, particularly around the organs, and the constant bombardment of high carbohydrate foods that spike your blood sugar over and over again. I read studies from Dr. Roy Taylor at Newcastle University showing that people could reverse their diabetes by losing just 10 to 15% of their body weight. I read about the work of Dr. Jason Fung on intermittent fasting and how it could help reset insulin sensitivity. I learned about the importance of resistance training for glucose disposal. All of this made sense to me in a way that just taking more pills never had. But I also knew that knowledge without action is worthless. I had read diet books before. I had tried exercising before. The difference this time was that I was going to approach it systematically, measure everything, and treat it like the serious medical intervention it was. I wasn't going on a diet. I was implementing a therapeutic protocol to reverse a disease. The first and most important change I made was with my food. I stopped eating breakfast. This was hard at first because I had eaten breakfast every day for 75 years, but I learned that intermittent fasting could give my body a break from constantly processing food and help reduce insulin resistance. I would finish dinner by 7 p.m. and not eat again until noon the next day. That gave me 17 hours of fasting every single day. When I did eat, I completely eliminated foods that spiked my blood sugar. No bread, no pasta, no rice, no potatoes, no sugar, no fruit juice, no beer. I know that sounds extreme, but I was trying to reverse a disease, not just lose a few pounds. I focused on protein and vegetables. A typical lunch for me was grilled chicken with a huge salad dressed with olive oil and vinegar, or salmon with roasted broccoli and cauliflower. Dinner was similar, maybe a steak with asparagus or pork chops with green beans. I ate until I was full. I never counted calories. I never felt hungry between meals because protein and fat keep you satisfied in a way that carbohydrates never do. The key was keeping my insulin levels low throughout the day so my body could start burning its stored fat, including the fat around my liver and pancreas that was causing my insulin resistance. I also drank a lot of water, at least 8 glasses a day. I gave up the diet sodas I'd been drinking for years, just water, black coffee, and unsweetened tea. This might sound boring to some people, but I quickly realized that I had been eating for entertainment rather than for nourishment. Food became fuel. not a hobby. The first 2 weeks were difficult. I had headaches. I was irritable. My wife will tell you I was not pleasant to be around. This is normal when you're breaking an addiction to sugar and processed carbohydrates. But by week 3, something shifted. My energy levels started to improve. The afternoon crashes disappeared. I was sleeping better. And when I checked my blood sugar in the morning, it had dropped from 240 to 180. That was all the motivation I needed to keep going. I started walking every single morning right after I woke up. Not a leisurely stroll, but a purposeful walk at a pace that got my heart rate up. I started with 20 minutes and gradually increased to 45 minutes. Walking first thing in the morning while fasted helped my body burn fat for fuel and improved my insulin sensitivity throughout the day. But walking alone wasn't enough. I knew from my research that muscle is one of the most important tissues for glucose disposal. When you have more muscle, your body has more places to store glucose and your insulin sensitivity improves. So I started lifting weights 3 times a week. Now, I had never been a gym person. The idea of going to a gym at 75 and lifting weights seemed ridiculous to me. But I found a small local gym with a trainer who specialized in working with older adults. I started with very light weights, learning proper form, focusing on compound movements like squats, deadlifts, chest presses, and rows. These exercises work multiple muscle groups and give you the most benefit for your time. The first few sessions were humbling. I could barely squat with just my body weight. But I showed up 3 times a week, every week, and slowly I got stronger. Within 2 months, I was squatting with a 45-pound barbell. Within 4 months, I was deadlifting 135 pounds. These might not sound like impressive numbers to a young person, but for a 75-year-old man who had been sedentary for years, it was transformative. The combination of walking and strength training completely changed my body composition. I wasn't just losing weight, I was losing fat and building muscle. My clothes fit differently. I had more energy. I could get up from a chair without using my hands. I could carry groceries without getting winded. These everyday improvements meant more to me than any number on a scale. I checked my blood sugar every morning when I woke up and 2 hours after my first meal. I kept a detailed log in a notebook. This data was crucial because it showed me exactly how my body responded to different foods and activities. I learned that even supposedly healthy foods like oatmeal would spike my blood sugar significantly. I learned that a hard workout the day before would result in lower fasting blood sugar the next morning. I also weighed myself every day at the same time, right after waking up. I know some people say you shouldn't weigh yourself daily, but I found it helpful to see the overall trend. Weight fluctuates day to day because of water retention, but over the course of a week or a month, the trend was clear. I was losing about 2 pounds per week consistently. After 6 weeks, I went back to my doctor for a check-in. She was shocked. My fasting blood sugar had dropped to 145. I had lost 18 pounds. She ran a full panel of blood work, and everything was moving in the right direction. My triglycerides had dropped significantly. My HDL cholesterol was up. My blood pressure was down. She told me to keep doing whatever I was doing and to come back in another 6 weeks. That encouragement from my doctor was huge. It validated that what I was doing was working, and it gave me the confidence to push even harder. I fine-tuned my eating. I increased my walking to an hour most days. I added a 4th day of strength training. I was completely committed. One thing I didn't expect was how much this process changed my relationship with food and with my body. For years, I had thought of myself as someone who had diabetes. It was part of my identity. I would introduce myself at support groups by saying, "I'm Robert and I have diabetes." But as my health improved, I started to see myself differently. I wasn't a diabetic. I was someone who had developed diabetes because of poor lifestyle choices, and I was now reversing those choices. This shift in mindset was powerful. I stopped making excuses. When we went to restaurants, I didn't feel deprived ordering a steak and vegetables while everyone else ate pasta. I felt proud that I was taking control of my health. When friends offered me dessert, I didn't feel like I was missing out. I felt grateful that I had learned to break free from the sugar addiction that had controlled me for so long. I also became more present with my family. I had more energy to play with my grandchildren. I could go on longer walks with my wife. I wasn't falling asleep in the middle of the day anymore. My mood improved. My wife said I seemed happier and more engaged with life, all of this from changes in how I ate and moved. There were setbacks along the way. I had a birthday dinner where I ate a piece of cake and my blood sugar spiked to 220, but instead of giving up, I just went right back to my routine the next day. One meal doesn't define your health. It's the consistent choices you make day after day, week after week that determine your outcomes. At my 6-month checkup, I was nervous but excited. I had been tracking my blood sugar every day, and I knew it had improved dramatically, but I didn't know what my A1C would show. The nurse called me back to give me the results, and when she told me my A1C was 5.4, I literally started crying. For the first time in 12 years, I was no longer in the diabetic range. I had reversed my diabetes. My doctor came in and she was amazed. She said in 30 years of practice, she had only seen a handful of patients make this kind of transformation. She reviewed all of my blood work. My fasting glucose was 95. My triglycerides had dropped from 240 to 110. My HDL had gone from 35 to 52. My blood pressure was 118 over 76 without any medication. I had lost 42 pounds, going from 218 pounds to 176 pounds. She told me I could stop taking my diabetes medications. This was the moment I had been working toward for 6 months, but it was also scary. What if my blood sugar went back up? She reassured me that as long as I maintained my lifestyle changes, my blood sugar would stay in the normal range. She said I should continue monitoring it daily for the next few months and come back for another A1C test in 3 months. I left that appointment feeling like I had won the lottery. I had my life back. I had my energy back. I had reversed a disease that I thought was irreversible. And I did it without any special supplements, without any expensive programs, without any gimmicks. Just real food, consistent exercise, and a commitment to changing my life. It's been over a year now since I reversed my diabetes, and I've maintained all of my results. My A1C is still 5.4. My weight has stabilized at 175 pounds. I still do intermittent fasting every day. I still eat low-carb meals focused on protein and vegetables. I still walk every morning and lift weights 3 times a week. The difference now is that it doesn't feel like a struggle. These habits have become part of who I am. I don't crave bread or sugar anymore. I genuinely enjoy the foods I eat. I look forward to my morning walks and my workouts. My body feels strong and capable in a way it hasn't since I was in my 50s. I've also learned to be flexible. If we go to a wedding or a special celebration, I'll have a small piece of cake or a glass of wine. But I know that 95% of the time I stick to my routine, and those occasional deviations don't derail my progress. The key is making healthy choices the default, not the exception. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that age is not an excuse. At 75, I'm in better health than I was at 65. I have more energy, more strength, and more mental clarity. I used to think that decline was inevitable as you got older. But now I know that much of what we attribute to aging is actually just the result of poor lifestyle choices accumulated over decades. If you're watching this and you have type 2 diabetes, I want you to know that you have more control than you think. You are not broken. Your body is responding exactly as it's designed to respond to the environment you're giving it. If you change that environment, your body will respond. You don't need expensive supplements. You don't need a special diet program. You need to eat real, unprocessed food. You need to move your body every day. You need to give your body time to rest from constantly processing food. And you need to be consistent. It won't be easy, especially at first. You will be uncomfortable. You might feel hungry. You might miss your favorite foods. But I promise you, the discomfort of changing is nothing compared to the suffering of letting diabetes destroy your body over the next 10 or 20 years. I reversed my diabetes at 75. If I can do it, you can do it. Take that first step today. Check your blood sugar. Go for a walk. Skip breakfast tomorrow and see how you feel. Start building momentum, one day at a time, one choice at a time. Your future self will thank you for the decision you make right now. Thank you for watching, and I wish you all the best on your health journey.